So before we start the Maimer Biom, just to say a little bit about it, this is a little introduction about the Maimer and the Teichen, the content of the Maimer. We know that throughout the first 20 years of the Rebbe's Nesius, there was never a Farbrengen officially on Yud Aleph ניסן. The Rebbe did other things. The Rebbe wrote letters on Yud Aleph ניסן from Mamish, from the very beginning of the Nesius. There were certain things that the Rebbe spoke about and did in honor of Yud Aleph ניסן, but not a Farbrengen. Tafshin Lamed Aleph, 1971 was the first year there was a Farbrengen. Many connected it with the fact that until Tafshin Lamed Aleph, Asar B'Teves was the Histalkos of Rebbe's in the Chamadina. Till then, the Rebbe used to eat in the Frierdiker Rebbe's apartment, the Yom Tov meals. There would be a Farbrengen the second night of Pesach. Here, there wasn't a Farbrengen second night of Pesach. There started to be Farbrengen Yud Aleph ניסן, where the Rebbe did speak also. The Maimer often was connected with Pesach. It was often in Yanim of Pesach that the Rebbe spoke about. It was also connected perhaps with the beginning of Kapitel Ayin. It was the beginning of Shnas HaShivim. But who knows what the real reason is, but Al Kupanim, from then there started to be Farbrengens Yud Aleph ניסן. But there was an amazing Maimer on Yud Aleph ניסן, Tafshin Lamed Aleph. Like we said, a lot of them about Yud Aleph ניסן had to do with Pesach. Some of them, other ones had to do. This one was an explanation of what Yud Aleph ניסן is all about. And if we think about the concepts of it, it's very much connected. 50 years ago was Tafshin Lamed Aleph, this year is Tafshin Pei Aleph. And if we think about the concept of Yud Aleph ניסן, then perhaps it's very much connected with the year Tafshin Lamed Aleph. And this will help us a little bit, give us a little bit of an explanation, the ideas of the Maimer. Every day of Nisan, another Nasi brought a carbon. Obviously, the carbon of the Nasi had a connection to the general concept of Nisan, which Nisan is Reish Chadashim. It's the head of all the months. This is the dedication of the Mishkan, the head of all our Avodas Hashem, which is connected with the Mishkan, which started Rosh Chodesh Nisan and went on for every day. Another Shevet brought on this day of Nisan something special, which brought out the consecration of the Mishkan and the dedication of the Mizbeach and the Mishkan. But there was something special and obviously a special connection with each Nasi that brought his carbon back when they built the Mishkan. A special connection obviously to this specific day. And yet the Medrash specifically points out and specifically emphasizes that all the Nesiim and all the leaders and all the Shvatim had a connection with the specific day that they brought. But specifically the Medrash speaks about what happened on the 11th of Nisan when the Nasi of Asher brought. It's because of something special about Asher, which is connected to the Gula of the Jewish people, the redemption of the Jewish people, and the Shavach, the praise and glory of the Jewish people. What's special about this special day, the 11th of Nisan, from the beginning of history? Let's look at Yetzias Mitzrayim. The 10th of Nisan was a very special day. That's when Hashem told the Jewish people, Mishchu k'chu lachem tzein. Pull away from the Avodah Zarah, pull away from the idol worship of the land, pull away from your involvement in the Egyptian culture and take for yourself a sheep which will you bring as an offering to Hashem. Galus, the whole idea of a Jew being in Galus is the fact that he's involved and connected with the Egyptian culture. In fact, there's a letter from the Rebbe where the Rebbe explains it, that Galus is like a fetus in his mother's stomach. He's there, he's complete, everything is there. His head is there, his limbs are there, everything is there, but he's not independent, he's not his own. When his mother eats, he automatically eats. His mother goes somewhere, he's there also. When the baby is born, the first thing is he gets his own voice. He eats when he eats. He goes somewhere. When he goes somewhere, yes, he may still have to be taken there. But he doesn't always go automatically wherever his mother goes. And this is the difference, and this is why the birth of the Jewish people is called Yom Huledes, a birthday. The Navi compares the Yitzias Mitzrayim to a birthday, because the birth of the Jewish people means that that's when we left being, we were, even in Mitzrayim, we were a nation. Not just a nation, a special nation. We had our own language, Leshinu es Leshainam. We had our own garments, we had our own way that we dressed, Leshinu es Malbusham. We had our own land, the land of Goshen. We were different, Mitsuyanim. We were a nation, a complete nation, but a nation that was swallowed up into the Egyptian nation, that was part of the general Egyptian culture. Yud Nisan, the preparation, the final preparation for the Gula was Mishchul Chulachem, pull away from the culture of Egypt. But that day of Yud, number 10, 10 shows on completion, it still shows on the completion just before the moment of birth. It's Yud Aleph Nisan, the 11th of Nisan. 11 means going beyond. 11 is when there's birth, when there's a new existence. Not just the completion of the Jewish people, that they're able to complete themselves and prepare themselves completely for the redemption, but the actual idea of redemption that comes the day after they pulled the Karban Pesach. We see it even more 40 years later. In the Midbar, the Jewish people were in the desert. An amazing time. Amazing things happened. They had Moshe Rabbeinu. They learned Torah every day. They had the man. Then they went through the Yarden, the miraculous going through the Yarden, the miraculous crossing of the Jordan River on the way to Eretz Yisrael. That was on the 10th of Nisan. The 10th of Nisan shows on the completion and perfection of one state of being. Yud Aleph, the 11th Nisan, was their first complete day in the new land, in the land of Israel, in the new state, the state of redemption. That's in general 10 and 11. 10 shows on completion, perfection. 10 is the 10 Sfiras. There's 10 godly attributes. Those are the 10 shows on perfection and holiness itself. There's the 10 Dibros. We're told there's the Echad Shalamayla Miasara, the one that's above the 10 Dibros. The 10 commandments of Hashem, that is the Anoichi, the essence of Hashem. The essence that's above, that's a whole new concept. It's above the completion of 10. That's the Aleph, which is higher than the Yud. And that's why the 11, all the Karbanis in the Mishkan have to do with 10. Ketores has to do with 11. Ketores, there was 11 samemanim, 11 ingredients, because the Ketores shows on transformation. The power to transform, the power for holiness to be complete on its own, that's from number 10. The power to be able to take the essence of Hashem, which enables that even something which is the opposite, like in the Ketores, that it was the only thing in the Beis HaMikdash, that one of its ingredients was something that wasn't kosher. The power of transformation that comes from 11. The 11 is the renewal, 10 is the completion, 11 is a new birth. It's a renewal. And that's why the Medrash is connecting, what is 11 all about? Where is that essence? Where does that come from? And the Medrash tells us that comes from the tribe of Asher. Asher, when it came a time that Yaakov Avinu, it says that Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov was the highest, he was the completion of Atzilus and the levels of Atzilus and the spiritual levels. Who brought Yaakov, in fact, in the Chassidus and in Kabbalah, it's compared to the tefillin of the head and the straps of the tefillin. The tefillin is like Yaakov, the straps is Yosef. Yosef is Yesod. Yosef is the one that draws down the light of Yaakov into the world. All the Shvatim, even the Avos, they had to be separate from the world. They were shepherds. It was only Yosef that had the power, lemivdak bekisvei chushbinei, that he was able to actually be involved in the business, be involved in Egypt in the lowest place, be involved in a way that he actually had an involvement in the world, and yet be able to remain who Yosef, the same Yosef that's able to draw down godliness into the world. That was the power of Yosef. When Yaakov thought that, and that's why the power of Yosef is the one that prepares for Geula. Vayili shoyer v'chamoyer, we're told shoyer, chamoyer is the Melech HaMashiach, shoyer is Mashiach ben Yosef. Before Mashiach ben David can come and actually bring Geula from the world, there comes first Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef shows on the idea of Yesod of drawing down godliness into the world. When Yaakov thought that that was missing, that was lacking, Yaakov was lacking himself, the Ruach HaKodesh. He didn't have the spirit of prophecy because he thought that Yosef wasn't alive, and the world showed as if that's the existence. That seemed to be the reality. Who was the one who announced that that's not the reality, that Yosef is still alive, which caused that Yaakov, Vatichi Ruach Yaakov Avim, it brought a new life to Yaakov Avinu. Serach, the daughter of Asher. Asher. Who was the one when the Jewish people, when Moshe Rabbeinu came to tell the Jewish people it's time to leave Egypt? The Medrash tells us that Yaakov Avinu, Yosef HaTzadik, before the Jewish people, before he passed away, he said to the Jewish people, there will be a redemption, you'll be redeemed from Egypt. It was the power of Yosef that brought the redemption, and that's why Yosef told them, Elikim Pakod Yifkod Eschem, Hashem will remember you. And that was the code word that he said that the Redeemer will use those same words. Who knew those words? Serach bas Asher. The elders of the Jewish people went to Serach bas Asher when Moshe Rabbeinu came and said, Pakoit pakaditi. They asked Serach bas Asher. She said, yeah, this is the code words. She was the one who revealed, yes, this is the Redeemer. When Moshe Rabbeinu, it came time to leave Mitzrayim, they had to take Yosef with them because the redemption had to come with the power of Yosef. Who showed Moshe Rabbeinu where Yosef is? Serach bas Asher. And years later, when there was a rebellion against the kingship of Beis David, from where Mashiach comes, with Sheva ben Bichri, who was the one who managed to transform that it shouldn't become a terrible situation of a rebellion, but on the contrary, she gave over the rebel and she convinced the people of the city to give over the rebel so that the people of the city can continue to live. Serach bas Asher. Serach bas Asher, we're told, is together with the 10 Shvatim, which is the preparation for Mashiach. And finally, Asher himself, the Medrash tells us, that when a neshama, when a person comes above, and they want to put him into Gehenna, and he goes to each one of the Aves and the Shvatim, and no one can help him, and the Medrash says he comes to Asher, and Asher says, if you learned one single Mishnah, then you'll be able to, I'll be able to help that you should leave Gehenna. What's the power? The Rebbe explains in a letter of leaving Gehenna. Leaving Gehenna is like the idea of goal of redemption. With which power? Asher. Asher is this something special of redemption, of renewal, and that's why Asher brought on the 11th day of the month. The same 11th day of Nisan, which is the day of redemption, the day of renewal, the day of transformation, the day of going against the grain of what it seems in the world. Not just the completion of holiness, but the ability to start something totally new, to come to a new idea. That's 11. And says the Medrash, who brought an Asher? And the Medrash will explain, as we'll continue to explain later, what Asher is about, that it's in his name. The name of Asher shows on the essential connection between a Jew and Hashem. The praise of the Jewish people, the redemption of the Jewish people, and the fact that everyone realizes the essence of a Jew is connected to the essence of Hashem. That's Asher. That's Asher. That's the 11th of Nisan. When did the Rebbe reveal this? 50 years ago in Tafshin Lamed Aleph. Tafshin Lamed Aleph is after the 20-year period. 1 year later, 20 years after Tafshin Yud Aleph. 20 years, the Rebbe explained, still had a connection to the previous Rebbe. The first 20 years, just like by Shimshon. After that 20-year period, when there started a renewal, when there started the idea of bringing out the power of 11. When was the power of 11 brought out? In 5731. And now 50 years later in 5781. When we're beyond 80, 80 is the idea of higher than nature, but we're beyond, we're ready now as well to start this renewal with the true renewal, the complete and full Geula, with the coming of Mashiach immediately, as Mr. Hashem will continue to see the power of Asher and of the essence of the Jews that's brought out by it, as we'll see this in the Maimer.